In a dingy old shop on a shadowy street, a ventriloquist dummy lay limp on a seat, its painted grin wide, its eyes dark as night, but hidden within was a sinister blight. No name on the tag, no past to reveal. This dummy was cursed, bound by a deal. A soul trapped inside from a deed done long past, its hunger for power grew stronger and fast. A man strolled in, his luck running dry. He needed a prop for a show that would fly. He picked up the dummy, felt a cold, creeping dread, but the price was too low to leave it unsaid. That night at the club, under bright, glaring lights, the man sat the dummy on his knee. Oh, the sights! The crowd roared with laughter, their cheers filled the air, but something was off, a malevolent stare. The dummy leaned forward, its voice oddly deep, a whisper of hate that made strong men weep. "Kill them," it murmured in tones sweet and low. "Violence is freedom. Make your anger show." The audience clapped, thinking it part of the act, but deep in their minds, seeds of hatred were packed. The show became famous, both on stage and online. The dummy's dark whispers seeped into the mind. But the dummy wanted more. Its hunger grew vast. It needed a body, a vessel to last. So one night it crept from its case to the floor and found its new owner sleeping, alone, nothing more. With twisted old strings and whispers so vile, it wrapped around the man with a demon's sly guile. The dummy's owner awoke with a scream, but the dummy just laughed, took control, made him part of the team. The man's eyes turned black, his heart slowed to near death. The dummy's control took his very last breath. But he moved and he walked like a puppet on strings, his voice not his own, his mind full of dark things. On YouTube they thrived, spreading terror and fear. Each joke was a curse, each laugh brought a tear. The man, now puppet, did all that was told, his soul trapped in limbo, his body gone cold. The axe turned to horror, with subtle hints dropped. "Take a knife to your neighbor, don't you dare stop." The crowds were enthralled, the comments were wild. No one suspected the evil beguiled. But the dummy's influence went far beyond just a stage. It hypnotized some, filled them with rage. They left the shows, laughter still on their lips, but madness soon gripped, tightening its grips. One man, a gentle soul known for his care, started hearing whispers, foul words in the air. He grabbed a hammer, no thought in his mind, and bludgeoned his friend, leaving reason behind. The walls of the room splattered with gore, as he struck again and again, craving more. When the police arrived, he sat in a daze. The dummy's dark curse had set his mind ablaze. Another night, a woman so prim left the dummy's show filled to the brim. She drove home in silence, a gun on her seat, her thoughts no longer her own, her actions discreet. She walked into her boss's house with vengeance and fire and shot him dead, her one true desire. She painted the walls with his blood-soaked scream. A nightmare she lived, not just a bad dream. She laughed in the silence, madness in her eyes, as the dummy's curse left no room for lies. When it was done, she dropped to her knees, begging for mercy, for the madness to cease. The dummy's reach extended far and wide as it manipulated minds, tearing them apart inside. People turned on each other, driven by rage, all orchestrated by the dummy on its cruel stage. One man gouged out his own eyes in despair, seeing visions of horror that weren't really there. Another set himself ablaze in the street to escape the dark whispers, to end the deceit. The dummy laughed softly, its grin stretched wide, as it watched the chaos spread far and wide. Its power was growing, feeding on fear. As more souls were twisted, its voice they'd hear. But as it grew stronger, so did the cost. The more it consumed, the more control it lost. The curse that bound it was dark and old, and even its power couldn't break from its hold. One fateful night, as the puppet performed, the dummy's once owner on stage began to transform. The dummy's power, once strong and fierce, began to falter, began to pierce. The owner's voice, once clear as day, turned to garbled nonsense in a horrifying way. His skin began to sag like wax in the heat, rotting away a decaying treat. The crowd watched in horror, frozen in place, as the man's face melted, leaving no trace. The stench of decay filled the room thick, the dummy's power slipping, no longer slick. The once owner of the dummy collapsed, a lifeless heap. The audience screamed, out from their seats they'd leap. The show was halted, the truth laid bare, the evil exposed, a nightmarish affair. But the dummy was cunning and knew when to lie. It played dead on the floor, avoiding each eye. The authorities came, took the man away, but the dummy remained in the shadows to stay. Unclaimed and unwanted, it was sold for cheap. But evil doesn't die, it just goes to sleep. When the new owner arrived, excited and thrilled, he didn't realize the horror that would soon be fulfilled. The dummy rested, its power regained, ready once more to drive men insane. And so the cycle would begin anew, a new puppet to break, a new audience to screw. In the year 1962, a toy was released, brand new, a ventriloquist dummy, simple yet grand, marketed aggressively across the Midland. The company's name was revered and known, their products adored, their profits had grown. This dummy was no different, a hit right away, sold to teens and young adults, brightening their day. Thousands were shipped in boxes of red to stores and homes where excitement spread. But soon after launch, the rumors began of chaos and death that hadn't been part of the plan. It started with whispers, fearful and low, of dummies that moved with a sinister to and fro. Reports came in from towns far and near, of homes burnt down, of blood and of fear. One man, a lawyer, received his in the mail overnight. He set it on the shelf, behold, what a sight. But that night, as he slept, he awoke in a fright to see the dummy move, its eyes wickedly bright. It jumped from the shelf with a sinister grin, grabbing a knife, it tore into skin. The man bled out, his screams unheard, as the dummy laughed, not saying a word. The house was set ablaze in the dead of night. Neighbors watched in horror, frozen with fright. The flames consumed, leaving nothing but ash, but no one saw the dummy's quick dash. Another case, living the suburban life, a young couple lived as husband and wife. With the new purchased toy, the couple full of joy placed the dummy in the living room high up on a shelf. But that night it moved, under cover of night, all by itself. It found the man's toolbox, sharp and cold, a hammer in hand, the dummy's actions bold. It slithered to their bedroom, silent and still, and crushed in their skulls with a disastrous will. The blood-splattered walls, the scene grotesque. The dummy's grin widened, twisted and burlesque. It set the house on fire, left no trace, but the flames undoubtedly would reveal its twisted face. Reports piled up from city to town of dummies causing mayhem, burning it all down. But when investigators searched for a cause, they found nothing concrete, no perpetrator breaking the laws. The dummies were just wood with paint and string, no signs of life, no evidence to bring. But the stories persisted of blood and fire, of dummies reanimating, their malevolent deeds most dire. The toy company panicked, their image at stake, so they paid out claims with a quiet handshake. Families were hushed with money in hand, but the truth of the dummies remained unplanned. The media was silent, not a word was said, as the all-powerful Vatican's shadow loomed overhead. It wasn't the company that silenced the press, but the Vatican's power, their secrets to bless. They paid off the networks, the papers, the news, ensuring the stories wouldn't be used. For the Vatican knew of the dummies' dark past, of curses and demons that held them fast. The company recalled all the dummies they could, reclaiming each one just as they should. But two of the cursed ones, known for their crimes, were taken by the Vatican in dark, secret confines. They were locked away in a vault so deep where secrets of horror and darkness sleep. The dummies now rest in a chamber of stone, their evil contained but never alone. For the Vatican studies with caution and care the dark forces within, the curses they bear. And although they're locked up, far out of sight, their evil remains, waiting for when the time is right to break out and unleash hell into the night.